On the Track is a web TV show about cryptozoology, natural history, green issues and whatever else the team feel like making up as they go along. Enjoy!
So what's in today's show, Mr. John?
Well, Hennis, this week we are going to go and have a look at what's been happening recently at Loch Ness with the help of our resident Loch Ness expert Ian Squibbs and our old friend Ken Gerard from San Antonio in Texas, who has been there recently as part of the enormous and groundbreaking Loch Ness investigation. Enjoy.
I really like the old credits.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's Saturday afternoon, which can only mean one thing. Goodness me, look over there!
It's the Dibleys!
Hello, I'm Gwen Dibley, the Chelsea-based orang pendek and Scandinavian death skiffle vocalist. I would like to introduce my dear daughter, Helga. Say hello, Helga. Hello, Mayor. Hello, viewing public. So, Helga, how was school today? What went on at St. Wettypants School for Girls? Mayor, it was wonderful. We had a special visitor. It was Ray Reardon. He told us all about his holiday in Turkey, and he got slides.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's John Downs, and welcome to another episode of On the Track. And for those of you who are not familiar with this show, every Wednesday evening at 6:30 for about a quarter of an hour, and every Saturday afternoon at 3 for about twice that, we bring you a miscellany of hard science, weird shit, and surreality. What's surreality? Well, I don't know really. Let's ask him.
Hey, you're adorable. B, you're beautiful. C, you're a bundle of charms. I'd like to wander through the alphabet with you, but what are we going to do about him? Me?
At the end of August, those jolly nice people at the Loch Ness Visitors Centre held a huge experiment. They described it as the biggest Loch Ness monster hunt in either 30 or 50 years, depending which of the slightly contradictory press reports you read. I was fascinated by the idea because we had tried to get something like that to happen 15 or 20 years ago when we were investigating the sightings of giant fish in the Lake District. But for various reasons it didn't happen. But we were interested to find out what actually had happened. Then we read reports on what used to be called Twitter, saying that it had been just an excuse for loads of people to get drunk or stoned, which did not seem like a very good idea to us. So, by the way, here, before we go any further, I have to point out that the only place that I read that was on the story and what isn't Twitter anymore. Everybody else has been broadly enthusiastic about it. But we found out that one of our friends, a guy called Ken Gerard, who's a CFZ author that I've known for, 20 years now, and one of our friends was actually there, and that also our great Loch Ness sleuth Ian Squibbs knew quite a lot about the weekend. So we got them both, we filmed them both, and then we're editing it to try and give the best possible result and the most balanced view of what actually happened. Enjoy. Ian, it's lovely to have you back on the show again. And I believe that this time we're back at Loch Ness, at least to start with. So tell me, what's been happening?
Well, hello there, John. It's been a while, but it's good to be back on CFZ TV and dive headfirst into the swamp of the strange and the peculiar. So, firstly, we're going to once again head up to Loch Ness and check out the findings of the recent expedition that took place and try and finally solve the mystery of the lake. But first, autumn is upon us, and the good news is the football season has begun. And I know that Richard loves football, so he'll be pleased by this. Now, we're all familiar with the likes of Manchester United and the Arsenal. But how many of us have heard of Loch Ness Football Club? Not many of us, I'll wager. But unlike the monster, such a team does exist. The club was formed in 1999 and are part of the lowly Scottish North Caledonian League. They play their home games at a ground in Inverness, so not far from the loch. It's not a big club, and they don't get large crowds or appear on Sky TV and the like. But one notable thing about the club, though, is their shirts are popular and bestseller around the world. This is due to the shirts having a monster-themed design, which is popular with fans of the Loch Ness Monster. And we can have a look at some of the designs, John. So let's have a look at the first one there. We've got we can look at three of the shirts they wear. They're nice, aren't they? So you've got a blue one with a monster swimming across the bottom. And the black one in the middle there with their two smaller monsters, monsters on the shirt. Then my favourite is the white one there with the monster swimming downwards, and yeah, they look good. And they're sponsored.
I think I like the white one best.
Yes, I'd if I could lose a few pounds, I would get one myself. They're sponsored by Monster Box, whoever they are, but yeah, that's a nice touch. So let's have a look at another one. Look at the next one. Look at the black one there. That's a nice one there. So we can see on that shirt, we've got quite an atmospheric scene going on with Urquhart Castle there in the background and the monster there swimming through the murky waters. So yeah, and we'll just move on and see another shirt that they've issued, a blue one, and as we can see there, they've actually incorporated the surgeon's photo into that design. So yeah, nice. So here we go. That's Loch Ness FC. Let's move on to the main feature. So regular viewers of the program will know that on the weekend of the 25th to the 27th of August, just gone, there was the largest single expedition to search for the Loch Ness Monster staged in over 50 years. So, organised by a group called Loch Ness Exploration. And I reviewed their plans on CFZ TV a few weeks back. The search used cutting-edge technology such as drones and underwater surveillance equipment, as well as keeping a surface visual of the loch. As well as expedition organisers, the group was joined by over 100 volunteers each day. So how do they get on? Let's have a look.
I was actually trying to work out what was the last Loch Ness Monster expedition of that size 50 years ago. I've been trying to work that out, but I couldn't get there.
Well, I guess if we're going to go back to 72, 73, it was probably the Loch Ness Investigation Bureau, also known as the Loch Ness Investigation Phenomenon Bureau, various different iterations. Of course, that investigation, well, expedition, I guess, was a 10-year expedition that began in 1962. Sir David James and Sir Peter Scott and others, that kind of Constance White, some of the great Nessie researchers of the early 60s. And of course, Roy Mackal came on board later on and got funding and stuff. I don't know. And, I have to be honest with you, John, I didn't really do the research as far as what we're talking about here in terms of the number of people involved in any particular investigation. But you also know that Robert Rines and the Academy of Applied Sciences was there in the early 70s doing their investigation. And of course, they captured the infamous underwater photos that they're still controversial to this day. And I also wonder about Operation Deep Scan in 1987, where you had a flotilla of 25 boats.
That's the
headed
one
by
I
Adrian
was
Shine in the Loch Ness project. Yeah, there were
That's what I
certainly a
was
lot of people
thinking
involved in that as well. So I didn't, there have been many big ones through the years. So, but I guess it's been a while since there was really an orchestrated expedition to this magnitude. I believe there were close to 200 volunteers from around the UK and some people from Europe, and I was the only American as far as I know, but there might have been some others there as well.
Well, that's fantastic. So walk me through it. What happened?
Well, I should point out that the expedition was a joint venture between the Loch Ness Exhibition Center, which was formerly run by Adrian Shine, and I think it's under new administration now. It's in Drumnadrochit at the old Drumnadrochit Hotel. And then also there's a young researcher named Alan Mackenzie, who's kind of been obsessed with the Loch Ness mystery since he was a lad. And he's been being mentored by Adrian Shine and Dick Rayner and others. So he kind of put this whole thing together. He told me that he only expected about 30 researchers to show up when he announced that they were going to try to organize this great expedition. And they were certainly blown away by the fact that they had close to 200 applications for researchers. So I believe I got there on the 26th or 27th to the loch itself, met Alan Mackenzie, met some other interesting folks, Willie Cameron, who was known as the mayor of Loch Ness.
He's brilliant.
Greeted us almost immediately. Do you know Willie?
Yes. Fantastic, man.
Yeah, he is. And his father, of course, had one of the most important, if not the most important Nessie sighting ever back in June of 1965, along with Ted Holliday and 7 other witnesses. So we met there at the center.
Totally by accident.
Sorry?
Totally by accident. Richard Freeman and I were at Willie's father's wake because we were staying in the hotel.
Oh, gosh.
We stayed in the hotel in Inverness that we were paid for by some TV crew. And it so happened that was where Willie's father's wake was taking place. So we joined in.
Oh, okay.
And ended up making friends with Willie. And that's how I know Willie. But lovely man.
Okay. Very cool. Yes, he was very helpful all along the way. He was opening a lot of doors for us. But yeah, so, I'm trying to remember the exact, obviously the first day was just kind of an orientation. We met up Friday. That Friday, we went out on a boat with Alan Mackenzie and used some hydrophone technology, dropping mics into the loch. That's been done, of course, many times before, but that's kind of how it. Now it was raining terribly the whole weekend. I'm afraid that kind of was a real challenge, and it was funny, John, because of course there was this author / paranormal researcher who had come out, I believe, right before our expedition, and stated that that we were going to anger the the gods of Loch Ness and the monster, and there was going to be this, that our expedition was going to be a horrible failure because, because we were, I guess, invoking these ancient Gallic spirits or something. But so it did rain, so that's true. There was a lot of media there from around the world. Ended up doing interviews with newspapers and TV stations throughout England and the UK, the United States. There were Australian, Japanese, German, French, Italian, Norwegian. So, I mean, it was a big media event, and people were, of course, are always interested in the Loch Ness phenomenon. So Saturday, there was the official expedition. The volunteers were placed at 17 different locations around the loch in different groups. A lot of the notable places where there had been Nessie sightings in the past. And I guess we deployed all types of technologies there, hydrophones, a lot of just old school binoculars and field glasses. There were probably some underwater ROVs and things like that. Some people were out on boats. So it was basically designed to be like a thorough 48-hour observation of Loch Ness from all these different junctures.
On the first day of the expedition, unexplained sounds were logged via a research boat using underwater hydrophone system. Alan McKenna from Edinburgh said, "When we were testing the equipment, we did hear 4 distinctive noises, but we do not know where they were coming from. We did not know the origin, which is quite exciting." McKenna added, "The weather in Scotland was horrific over the weekend, so much so that the Highland Games were cancelled for the first time in 75 years. But that didn't stop us, and that didn't stop our volunteers either." We've had some people coming from all over the world. We've had people from Spain, France, Germany, and we had a Finnish couple. We've had news teams from Japan, Australia, America, and it has been really good. We've all kind of banded together, and it's been fantastic. Paul Nixon, general manager of the Loch Ness Centre, said that he felt there was something in the lake worth looking for, adding, "I believe there's something big lurking in the depths of Loch Ness." Now, I don't know whether it's a monster. I don't know what it is, but I reckon there's something down there. Craig Gallifrey, who was one of the hundreds of volunteers taking part in the search for the Loch Ness Monster this weekend, has said there were also some sightings. With the results on Friday with 4 unidentified sounds, it's something that we're going to explore a lot more, he told Sky News. And there were some sightings.
Did you say Craig Gallifrey?
Craig Gallifrey, yes, where Doctor Who comes from.
Yes, and he has had adventures with the Loch Ness Monster. So the Lexi links are just coming thick and fast.
They are. It's true. And in that episode of Doctor Who, the CGI was very good, as I remember. Early 70s, really. That's what we like Doctor Who for anyway, not what they've got now. So anyway, let's see, where are we? There were some sightings yesterday, which are all being collated. So hopefully we will have something by the end of the weekend. Unfortunately, the underwater sounds were not recorded for further analysis. So typical. Anyway.
And then I guess the big highlight on Sunday night was that I was, as far as I know, the first researcher to ever fly a drone equipped with thermal imaging technology over Loch Ness at night. So I certainly, we can have a lot of good discussions about what we think the Loch Ness Monster might represent. I sort of advocate the possibility that we could be dealing with a warm-blooded species. Something endothermic, and maybe something that surfaces more often at night rather than the day, which is why it isn't seen more often. So we were kind of testing that hypothesis by flying this thermal imaging drone over Loch Ness at night, Urquhart Bay, and some of the areas where there have been a lot of sightings in films through the years. And we did actually capture some heat signatures on the shoreline. The media, to my understanding, some of the media kind of ran with that and put words in our mouth, so to speak, saying that we claimed it was the Loch Ness monster, which we did not, just that it was interesting, So one heat signature could potentially be a fish farm that is on the adjacent shore, kind of in the location where we saw this this heat signature that looked actually very much like infrastructure. It was just kind of a big rectangular thing. But the other, and understand that on a drone, of course, you have a limited range. So even on good drones, which we had a very good drone, it'll fly so many hundreds of yards, meters, and then you have to move to get it to go further. So we did pick up some heat signatures on the opposite shore at one point that were smaller and appeared to be somewhat animate, possibly people, campers, maybe they had a fire or something. It was just too ambiguous for us to make any determination. So, but we do know that the thermal imaging technology does work. We did pick up some heat signatures alongside on the shore of Loch Ness at night.
And it's testing the hypothesis rather than saying, look, guys, we've got the Loch Ness monster, that you quite possibly haven't. And I'd heard the explanation that it was a fish farm. I don't know enough about Loch Ness geography to say one way or the other, but I know it's been claimed it was a fish farm. But it's an interesting idea, and congratulations for being the first person to do it.
Well, thank you, John. It's been my honor to be a field investigator for the CFZ for many years now, and it was great to be involved. Now, I should point out that Steve Feltham, who of course everyone knows has been alongside Loch Ness for 31 years or whatever, he was the one that pointed out to me when I described the location where we had this first heat signature that there was a fish farm located approximately where we were looking. So that's fairly solid validation from Steve that's what that could have been. But yes, it is about trying new ideas. Of course, this type of research, as you know, John, encompasses thinking outside the box, trying new techniques, new technologies when they come along. The research at Loch Ness has been going on now for 90 years with kind of, intriguing, but not, conclusive results. So we're still kind of chasing this hard evidence for Nessie or the possibility that there's something in the loch. But anyways, I'm inspired and optimistic because there seems to be a new generation of Nessie hunters coming up. There were a lot of young people on this expedition. Alan Mackenzie, who I mentioned, is a young guy, very enthusiastic and energetic. And, with the help of, some of the more seasoned investigators like a Steve Feltham or Roland Watson, a Willie Cameron, it's encouraging that we've kind of got this new blood, if you will, on the trail.
Let's move on to the next incident. Civil servant Alistair Gray, 58, claimed to have spotted the Loch Ness monster over the bank holiday weekend, as he claimed to have seen a pointy head and a pair of bumps bobbing above the surface of the lake. The sighting came just 9 days after father of four, Steve Valentine, took photos of what he believed to be Nessie while on a boat trip with his children. I saw this black shape. It was a bit of a distance, about 200 meters away near Urquhart Castle, Mr. Valentine said. I thought I needed to get a photo of it, which I did, but one of the kids jumped on my lap and the boat turned round. I showed the photo to the driver and he was quite taken aback. I am quite open-minded. I was genuinely shocked. So we can have a look at this photo. If we go to the next photo there, John, this is what Mr. Valentine's photo looks like. Yes, that's photo number 5 in the sequence. So that's it at a distance. So we can see it there in the circle. There's some kind of black object, maybe something protruding up, perhaps a small neck. Yeah, it's not very good quality photo considering the technology we have these days, but there's something there.
Considering the thing is supposed to be 200 yards away.
Yes, but what we can do...
You'd have thought even a bog standard camera phone would be able to take a better picture of that than that at 200 yards.
Mm, I know, but that's one of the key things when taking photos of Nessie. Make sure you've got a poor quality camera. So,
And
that's the original.
did you notice there's another Lexi link here?
Let me see. Let's see. Don't tell me. I don't know. Tell me, please.
Because this guy, what was he called? Gray?
Gray, oh, Hugh Gray, yes. Hugh Gray.
And he
Hugh
was
Gray,
he took a picture of his dog and thought it was a Loch Ness monster.
well, yeah, it's a sort of a double exposure of the dog. We can have a look at that photo one week would be good, wouldn't it? We'll have a look at that. We'll go into that. But other theories is it's a swan. But yeah, that's one we can look at in the future. And that's the actual first photo of the Loch Ness monster, isn't it? Claimed. What we can do, if we go to the next picture there, John, we can actually look at a zoomed in image of this object. And we can see that there again, it's poor quality, but I don't know. Something is saying to me, man in a boat. What do you think when you zoomed in there? It certainly looks.
Something saying to me, genetically modified plesiosaur.
Yeah, it could be, yeah. But I'm even getting sort of a out of the protruding object. I'm even getting a head and a shoulder vibe going on there.
And that's the end of part 1 of our super duper visit to Loch Ness with Ian Squibbs and Ken Gerard. We'll be back next week with part 2.
If you want to support us and help us make more content like these, please press like, subscribe, follow our Facebook page and check out our Patreon.
And as the ghost of Joe Strummer, who's an ever more regular visitor to my little house, will tell you, don't forget to ring the notification bell, otherwise you won't be told when the next episode's gonna be. And that would be an awful pity, wouldn't it? And so, ladies and gentlemen, here we are at the end of another episode. I hope you enjoyed that one as much as we enjoyed putting it together. I'd like to say a big thank you to everybody but for whom this episode would not have been possible. Particularly Richard Freeman, V. McCrinnan, my producer Louis, and my guests this time, Ian Squibbs and Ken Gerard. I'll be back with Ian and Ken next Saturday for part 2 of our visit to Loch Ness. Now, assuming that you're all going to be there to watch it, are you, Mr. McCrinnan? Assuming you are all there to watch it, and I'm going to be there doing the live chat and all the other stuff I do, then there's only one thing I can really say about it, and that's I'll be seeing you.